Hi everybody, this is video number 2. This is my 4-year-old daughter and we're going to cut her hair. We figured with some social distancing going on we would show people how we cut hair. I am not a professional, but I have been doing this for a while. She's never been to a hairdresser. I've always cut her hair, so we're just going to show you how to cut 4-year-old girl hair. There's another video that I'll post as well of my husband, and that'll have some techniques, but I'll try to tell you the same things here so you don't have to watch all the videos. So this is Emma, and we're going to give her a haircut today. We're going to trim her bangs and we're going to trim the back. First, we're going to put on our little hair cutting cape. Makes us feel like superheroes. Superhero. So you don't have to have a cape. This is just going to help keep the hair off of her. We've been doing this for a while at home, so we have one. If you don't, you can use a towel and clip it on with a little clip. Things we have for hair cutting. We have some clippers, but we're not going to use those on her. We're just going to use hair cutting scissors. If you don't have hair cutting scissors, you can use other scissors, but the sharper they are, the better, and the more they have a fine point so you can get in between the hair where you want to go, the better. If you have a pair of fabric scissors you're willing to sacrifice, those would be the best because they're usually really sharp, or any pair of really sharp scissors would be okay. Desperate times call for desperate measures. So here's what we're going to do. We also have some little clips. I've got just different little clips. You could use like a regular claw clip, anything to hold the hair where you want it to go. If you have some for just styling your hair, that's all I'm using here is just different like hair styling clips. And sometimes a rubber band if you wanted, like you could rubber band back this part if you wanted while you're doing the bangs or anything like that might help. So what we're going to do, I think we'll pull some of this hair back. We're going to start with the bangs. I've already brushed her hair so that it's not too tangly. That'll help get nice lines. So we're just going to take these clips and clip back this part of her hair so that we just are looking at the part that we're going to focus on first. So we also have a comb. You don't have to have a comb. You could use your fingers, depends on what you're more comfortable with. So like I said, we're going to start with the bangs. They're very long. You can't see your eyebrows. So that's always how I try to talk her into haircuts, is I say, I can't see your eyebrows. And she says, oh no, we have to cut her hair. Right?
Yeah, but
yeah, kind of in the way. So little kids are a lot tougher than grown-ups, obviously, because they don't really like to sit still for as long, so we just try to do this as quick as we can. What we're going to do is we're going to take some hair, and you can either hold it in the comb, or usually what I do is hold it in between my fingers, and you're going to keep your head up straight, okay? You keep looking at me, okay? We're going to hold the hair in between our fingers, and we're going to bring our fingers down to about how long we want to cut off, and try to hold it straight from the head into our fingers, so it's a nice straight line. And then, like I said in my other video, we are going to take the scissors and we do not cut straight across because that's going to leave really blunt edges, and as soon as they move, you're going to see it and it's going to look crooked. So what we're going to do instead is, let's say we want to cut off this much hair. We're going to cut tiny little snips, little tiny triangle motions like this. Just snip, 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 snip across in a line. And when you do that, what happens is when the hair moves back and forth, it just changes the shape of these little triangles. Lift your head up so we can see. So that it moves back and forth. I missed some on the other side, but it'll move back and forth and it won't look as crooked because hair moves. You can keep your head right here, okay? Good job. So we're just going to go along and we're just going to snip along, snip, snip, snip. And I think the most important thing when cutting hair at home, yep. The most important thing is take away less than you think you want to take away and see how it's looking. And then take away a little more and a little more. That way, if something messes up along the way, you still have something to repair because you can't put the hair back once you take it off. So we're starting to get like a line here, and then we're just going to continue along. You can keep your head right here, okay, so we can see you on the camera. So we're just going to keep on going across. Do you want me to blow your face off? Okay, close your eyes. That hair is itchy on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You're doing a great job. So, like I said, it's hard with kids. We just try to do this as quick as we can. And usually if I get 90% straight, I'm just going to go with it because it also is more of a fight than it's worth most of the time if you're trying to make it perfect with kids. So, we're starting. I'm kind of going a little bit quick to get a good shape, and then we'll straighten it up a little bit where it needs it. But again, I'm just going along in a line. So you can see here is a lot shorter than here, so these are going to need more. But when her bangs move, now you'll see it looks a little different too. So that's why, yep. Our word is pause, so that way if it's bothering them, they're not moving while you're touching them with the scissors. Saves a lot of funky haircuts and heartache later. But we're just going to keep going. So we'll just give her a moment, and she's a great superhero.
Okay, pause.
Yep. Now you're just pausing for fun, aren't you?
No. Here I stand.
Listening to Frozen in the background.
What background?
Background means in the other room. Playing Frozen.
Pause.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Okay.
I can wait for 1 second.
You can wait for 1 second. You're such a good waiter.
Because I'm doing my pieces.
You've got some patience. That's great.
But only for a little while pieces.
That's taken a lot of time. Okay, so we're just continuing to trim along.
Pause.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, how be on hill? Because
Yeah.
pause that way and it.
Okay, so look at the camera so they can see your hair. So you can see right now, it's still pretty uneven right here, but keep in mind that every time these hairs move, it's gonna get uneven in a whole different way. So you wanna really try to keep moving it, keep looking at it and get it even every way you can, because these hairs are going to move. Okay, don't brush these out of your hair because then I can't cut them. Okay, so we're just gonna keep trimming along. You're doing great. Yep, little snips. Snip,
Cold,
snip, snip.
cold.
Cold, cold.
It's not a stop pot. Ouch. Hit in my head.
I'm sorry.
My brain.
Hurt your brain.
It did hurt it though.
Okay, hold on. Stay really still.
The pause.
Hold on. I gotta have a little bit of patience, remember?
I have a
Okay.
It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's looking pretty good. What I'm doing here, so we try to do those little snips as much as we can, but here, I don't know if you can see this side, it's got just a little kind of on the underside. So I'm going to take the scissors straight and do a little trim just of those couple of trouble hairs that are in the way. Okay. So you put your head back regular. Put your head regular. Okay. So that's pretty straight. Now the other thing that I like to do with her bangs is I like to kind of fade them, kind of give them a little bit of layer from about here down. I found that that gives it a little less of that blunt edge and looks a little less crooked. So what I do for that is I'll pick them up this way on the head instead, and I'll pick this up, and then you take that and you're just going to kind of angle it like this. So that way some hairs are still long, some are still short, because this is coming this way on the head, just straight up and down.
But good say it come on a cape.
Yeah, good thing you got that cape on. Okay, so we'll just pick up some more hairs. Like I said, we're going to pick them up this way instead of like straight across. And we're just going to pick them up and we'll just give it a little angle that way. And that'll take away a little bit of that blunt edge. If there's any actual hairdressers out there and you have a better suggestion on how to keep this
If I was
less blunt and looking more even, I would love any tips that you have.
no,
This is
I'm not
just
scared.
what I've found is best by
No.
pure trial and error.
No. How are talking
Okay.
to a person we don't know and
We're
texting
taking a video.
video?
Yep, so then later people will see our video so that we can help other people give their children haircuts. Okay, so now the bangs are looking pretty good, so now we're going to move on to the back. Like I said, with kids, probably just aim for, 85-90% good, because otherwise they're going to lose patience before you get things done. Or at least that's my way to do it. I might take a video of my little boy's hair as well, and usually with him we bribe him with little Dum Dum lollipops, which seems to help a lot too.
Dum dum lollipop.
Dum Dum lollipops. So now we're going to do the back, and I'm going to cut a decent amount off of this, not a ton, but maybe a couple inches. It's been a while since I've trimmed the back. I do the bangs usually once every month or two, and then I'll do,
Mom, why is on?
you just put it on there to hold it. I'll put it on your hair in just a minute. And then I do the back whenever I feel like it. Sometimes she has longer hair, sometimes it's shorter. We just keep it a little bit short because it tangles a lot less. So it's a lot less work for her to brush. But no matter how short or long her hair is, you can use the same technique that we're going to do here. And I'm going to move her over this way to make sure you guys can see the bottom of the hair where we're going to be working. Okay, you look good?
I can see a bone cut.
I know. So now what I need you to do is I need you to look right here. Okay? Now keep your head up a little bit. Maybe look at, see that hinge on the door?
Yeah.
Okay, look there. Because we need your head to be nice and straight forward. Okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to separate it kind of into layers across the head this way. So I'm just going to stick my finger in here and go all the way across and pick just this bottom part out. If you have a little comb with the point on it, you could use that to get a better line than this, but it's not going to make a huge difference towards what we're doing. So I'm going to take all of this hair that we're not working on right now, and we'll just twist this up and clip it up here, out of the way with some clips, just like that. So we're going to just start with this layer. And then what we're going to do is kind of the same as the bangs. We're just going to trim across it. So we're just going to pick some. Usually I kind of start from the middle, and we decide how long we want it to be, or a little bit less so that you have a little more to work with. Keep looking over that hinge. Okay, and we're just going to hold it kind of taut from the scalp, hold it in my fingers like this, and then we're just going to do our little triangle trims here across that line. So we're just going to trim, trim, trim. Usually I try to make it long enough that it can still go in a ponytail, but short enough that it doesn't get super tangly. But again, like I said, this can be any length haircut. You're just doing this to the bottom of the hair. It doesn't matter if this hair is way down here or way up here. So we're just going to kind of trim along, and we'll keep doing our little triangles. Okay. And then what I'm doing here is, so now I've got some that's short, and what I'll do is I'll take my fingers and I'll pick up part of what's short and part of what's still long, and that way I have the short and the long so that I know how short to cut the rest of it, because I can just keep going across that same line. Try not to move so much, okay? Okay, Emma. Try not to move so much. Okay, and then same thing over here. I'm going to pick up some of the short, some of the long, and these tiny little snips they seem tedious, but at the end of the haircut, it'll make it seem a lot smoother and nicer, and everything will blend together better. So I'm just gonna go around. Okay. Now, once it feels about even, then just kind of move it around, make sure nothing looks crazy out of place or some kind of long. Keep your head straight, please. Look at that hinge on the door over there. Okay. So I'm just moving it, making sure everything looks pretty even and straight. Okay. So that is the bottom layer, and then we're just going to kind of repeat the same thing for the next layer up, and then another layer, however many layers it takes. And you're just going to match this, or if you wanted it more layered, when you do your next layer, cut it a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter as you go along, and then kind of blend them together. For hers, I'm going to do the next layer about the same length as this, and then I might just give it a little bit of angle at the end. So we're just going to undo this. I'm going to pick another bit. It totally depends on how thick the person's hair you're cutting is, as far as how much you get at once. I'm going to do about an inch from where we were before, because her hair is pretty thin.
Stop pulling my hair.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pull your hair.
Oh.
You want to be gentler?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know these clips are pink and blue, your favorite colors?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes just some good distractions helpful. Okay, so now we've got the next layer down, and then you can see there's the short layer underneath. So you just find the short layer and the long layer together and hold them both, and then you can kind of see through to that short layer, and then you can trim them about the same.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
Continue on with those little snips.
21,
Good counting.
26, 27, 28, 29,
So we're just going along,
31, 32, 33,
doing our little
34,
snips.
35, 36, 37, 38, 40.
And I'm doing the same thing with the other layer, where we're just kind of moving it around, combing our fingers through it. Now I can see like that I missed some.
45, 46, 47,
Okay, try not to move so much.
48, 49, 50, 51, 52,
Okay, that looks pretty
53,
good.
54, 55, 56, 57, 58.
So then we're just gonna move up and do the next layer.
What after 59?
60.
60, 61, 52, 53,
And like I said before, these layers don't have to be perfect.
65, 66,
They matter a little bit more. I would aim for a little more perfection if you were doing more layering of the hair, or your layers won't come out even. But since we're doing mostly straight across the bottom, we don't have to worry about that quite as much. So just put that up. And so then this is the next layer down.
69,
69,
yeah.
70.
70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76,
again, we're just doing the same thing. You don't have to hold all the hair from underneath in your hand, but if you have some, then you can see the difference. Like here's the short hair, here's the long hairs. So it kind of, once you start, it gives you a guide on where to cut the hair, so that you're not like confused about where you're going. So it just kind of, here's the hairs I've already cut, here's the hair I'm going to cut. And we just cut it in those little snips across a similar line. And I would say, if your child doesn't have really straight hair like this, I would get the hair wet to cut it, because then it will lay flatter and you'll be able to see the shape better, like I can see here. If the hair is pretty straight, I would cut it dry, because then you can see what it's going to be in the end better. Plus, when hair's wet, it's going to be a little bit longer. Once it dries, it means it's going to shrink up a little. So if you're cutting it wet, keep in mind that it's going to shorten up some as it dries, so that you don't end up with a crazy short haircut that you weren't expecting. So we're just going across, same thing, snip, snip, snip our lines. What's after what? 99?
Yeah.
100.
100?
Yeah.
100.
Count it all the way to 100.
I counted the way to 100. 100.
So we're just trimming everything on that same line. Pretty simple.
I could
Just
count all the way to
take a little time. Just always make sure you're taking away a little less than you're comfortable with, so that if you have to make adjustments, you can always go a little bit shorter without totally destroying what you were trying for.
16.
And the good news is, if you don't get it perfect, it just grows.
19, 20, 21.
So this is all looking pretty even. And now we're going to do what's left here.
25, 26, 27, 28.
Okay, so now we just have the top, and we're going to kind of get it where it wants to lay and do the same thing. And again, I'm just going to pick some of the short hairs from the bottom, some of the long hairs that still need to be cut, and just make them all around the same length in an even line.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44,
44.
Yeah.
So now we're getting closer to this front part of the hair here. So I just turned her a little bit so that I can work it where it's actually going to lay. If I pulled this hair back here while I was cutting it, it would not be the length that it would be if it was laying where it normally lays. So if you kind of get it where it's normally going to lay, can you look right here? Okay, so that we can see this side of your head. Okay. So we're just going to get it kind of where it's going to lay and trim it up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And you can do, I couldn't really see the hair underneath as well as I'd like, so I did some real big triangles through here. You just can't see very well back here. I'll do some big triangles to shorten it down, and then do some little ones to straighten it up. Just make sure those big triangles are less big than like what the end result's going to be, so that you don't accidentally like end up with jagged things when you're done.
17, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48.
What we have here is just one of our dining room chairs, which I put a towel over so that it wouldn't get covered in hair, and we'll wash the towels along with all the clothes we're wearing.
Why is it turning?
So that I can see this side of your head. See, this side's not done yet. Okay, say hi.
Hi.
Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to match up these short hairs to the long hairs and keep trimming.
I counted all the way to 100.
again, just keep moving the hairs. Make sure that you're not missing any, and trimming those off, keeping them as straight as you can. Can you look over here now? Straight ahead is important too for looking, so that if they're moving way to one side, you might end up making a cut that makes everything crooked. So definitely try to keep reminding them to look forward, which is hard with little kids, but it gets better and better with time. And you could have some sort of distraction, this is a good time for some screen time, a TV or a tablet or something that's interesting in front of them will really keep them entertained with what they're doing as well. It's always helpful.
I'm distracting myself.
You're distracting yourself with some counting, aren't you?
Yeah.
I like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When all hair is done, it will be so sweet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When
Alright, so now we have most of the hair the length that we want it, but I am going to just angle the bottoms a little. It helps kind of fade in the sharp edge. So what I'm going to do is kind of the same thing we did with the bangs, where you're going to pick up a piece this way and trim. So we're going to take some hair and we're going to trim it. You can see here, we're going to take some hair like this and we're going to trim it down at an angle like this. So it'll be the most hair trimmed from this part of the triangle and down. So what we're doing is hair like this, and we're going to cut it at an angle like this. So this is the top part of the hair, and we're just going to trim it like this, and that will help give it just a little bit of angle at the end. So I'm just picking some pieces, 101. You can just start counting from 1 again, 101, 102. So I'm just going to take some little pieces.
1, 2, 3, 4, 100.
I'm just going to take these. And when you do this, rather than doing it all in one chop, I'm kind of going chop, move along, drag the scissors down, chop, move along.
What after 109?
If you have really sharp scissors, you'd just really be able to just go like this and drag it through the hair and drag it through the hair, and it would just chop it. That's why sharp scissors are best for cutting hair.
Mom?
Yes, Emma.
What after 109?
110.
110. What is that?
What's after 10?
12?
11.
111, 112.
Okay, so I'm just doing this as much as
100.
I want until it just seems like it's got a nice little shape to the edge of it. And you don't have to do this part, it just, I think it makes the edge look a little bit more faded and nice without all being one blunt chop. It's kind of like adding a little layer in it, but just at the very bottom.
Hey, I got it. I got it.
You got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was rapid.
All right. Just move it around, give it one last check. I think it all looks pretty good. So we're gonna take this scoop off. Let's see how it looks. And look at the camera. Okay, so we've got bangs trimmed, mostly straight, and then we got our hair back a little bit. So now the hair is shorter. Then we got nice little haircut. Yeah. What do you think?
Great!
Looks great. All right. Great. Hope I helped.